a philosopher, a poet and a CEO walked into a boardroom. His name was Hareesh Tibrewala. I think that's the best introduction I have been able to come up with about Hareesh. And with that intro, what I wanted to do was, I wanted to see how I can extract the best possible wisdom nuggets, insights, etc. from Hareesh. And I think the best way to do that is by asking him a set of very pointed questions, and let's see what Hareesh is able to answer and what we are able to get out of it. So Hareesh, first question, to start off the interview, what does a typical day in the life of Hareesh Tibrewala look like?
A day in the life of an entrepreneur does not have too many variations, As an entrepreneur, you are either sleeping or you are working. When you are not working, you are sleeping. When you are not sleeping, you are working. Everything else in life is a bonus, okay? Going out on a family vacation, having your Sundays off, spending family time, everything is a bonus. For an entrepreneur, work is his passion. You eat, keep drinking, thinking all about work. So these are the stages in the life of an entrepreneur. It's either work or it is sleep. Having said that, it's important also to ensure that you are creating some kind of a balance in life and ensuring family has time. So whenever family requires time, we just shut work and walk away. And be rest assured that work, nothing gets disturbed. The world will still wait for 3 hours when you come back and finish the work.
But Hareesh, with all that work, is there some sort of a schedule that you follow on a daily basis? How do you schedule your day?
So scheduling of day, what I try to do is that I have almost like an hour-long commute from home to office and back. I try to use that hour-long commute to clear emails, stuff that I need to do in solitude, all by myself. I use that hour in and out to clear all my emails. When I'm sitting in the office, I hardly look at my computer. I hardly look at emails. I'm constantly talking to people. The method I like to engage with people is talking. I don't writing long mails, and I have very little patience to also read long mails. I like to talk to people. And again, I want to talk to people who can talk to me without looking at a PPT. Can you just tell me what you have in mind, what you want to say? I want to engage with you. So my time in the office is spent engaging with people and talking to them. My time in the car is spent churning out my emails. And then every once in a while, I take a day off from work, not to come to work at all. And I spend that time at home. And that is probably the most productive time. That is the time when you get time to think in terms of what is the next thing to be done. Prepare the next business plan. Prepare some very interesting Word document, read something interesting that creates more value. And I've seen that the time I spent at home thinking actually creates the maximum value for the organization. It's like in physics we used to have the fulcrum and a lever. You put the lever somewhere and you can lift a lot of weight. Thinking can do that. Okay, hard work can only push things ahead, but thinking can suddenly change weight. So this is how you organize your time of solitude work happening in the car, in and out, work which needs to be engaged completely in the office, and then every once in a while you take a day off and see if you can create some more levers which can just grow the organization.
Interesting. So the fulcrum is the thinking day,
yes,
and the hard work is the lever to lift whatever.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Hareesh, are there some must-dos every day that you have to do no matter how your day is going?
So I keep a very meticulous to-do list, almost like a control freak. So pretty much all my direct reportees have like a list of tasks that are kind of queued up with them. So to-do list is to quickly review that list and identify what are the high priority tasks, and be sure I'm able to check on those high priority tasks. It is important that we're able to distinguish between urgent and emergency. If you ensure that your urgent work is happening in time, nothing gets into the emergency zone. So the challenge is trying to prejudge what is going to get into a difficult situation, and if I can prejudge, can I guide the person working on it, to diffuse the situation before it actually explodes. So that is like a daily checklist, looking at all those reds which may suddenly get created somewhere, and make sure before it becomes a red, how can I land it safely.
Interesting. I think your to-do list is very famous around the office at least.
I have had people who have come and spent time looking at my to-do list, and this has been happening for like 20 years. So once upon a time used to be on paper. I used to carry a large pad, and there will be like 3 columns on the pad, so like high, medium, low. And I've seen people try to emulate exactly the same thing. So after a month, that guy will start getting his pad and seeing if he can write and keep a track. And then I've had people who have come and seen my Excel spreadsheet of how I kind of classify the Excel spreadsheet and how I keep tasks. I think this also goes from the belief that I want to own every relationship that I'm engaged in. When there's a relationship, both parties want to put 50%. I put 50, you put 50, it becomes 100. And then both of us want to cut corners. So I want to do only 49, you want to do 49, the partnership falls short. When I own a relationship, I say I will do 52% in any case. Which means if I give you work to do, you have the liberty to forget it. I will not forget it. I will keep a track. I will keep asking. I will ensure that you succeed. That to me is owning a relationship. So people with whom you work, it is your onus to ensure that they are successful. Instead of just picking up faults and blames and saying you didn't do this. So track whatever they are supposed to do, guide them what they are supposed to do, and coach them on that journey. Frankly, sitting in the office in the chair of a CEO, I don't see myself as a business owner. I see my role of that of a coach. Can I coach people around me? It's like that role Shah Rukh Khan plays in Chak De.
Right.
I don't even want to be the captain of the team. Somebody else can be the captain. Somebody else is the player. My job is to coach the team. Right. It's only when people get coached and they become smart does the organization grow or become smarter.
Awesome. That is very insightful, of course. And I want to actually take that to, this was a question that was we got to see something around how you do things on a daily basis. But now I want to change tack a little and ask you something which is probably a deeper question. What has been, Hareesh, in your opinion, the most difficult decision that you have ever had to take?
Obviously, the most difficult decision as an entrepreneur was when we had to shut down Home India. Home India was a business. We started a lot of funfair. We were like very early in the industry, and lot of media coverage everywhere, all over the media, press. We are there, and then for some reason the business did not develop. We believe we were too ahead of our times, like a excuse we gave to ourselves for not doing well. Maybe the real reasons are somewhere else, and we will discuss in the course of the conversation. So when a situation came where you realize the business will not go forward, it is like your baby. You have to kind of give that baby away. It is extremely hard for an entrepreneur to do that. And the hardness came on multiple reasons. One is it was a great idea, and the whole feeling that we could not bring the idea to fruitfulment. So am I really a capable entrepreneur? It was like a big question mark. That am I really a capable entrepreneur? Do I really have it in me to do something big, kind of thing? The second question, in your circle of friends and relatives, they always thought I was the smartest guy in town. And now if you can't get your business going, you have to sell the business off, you'll feel like an idiot. And thirdly, in our society, we don't accept failures. Our society depends only on success. If you fail, you are looked down upon. So it became a really hard decision to let go of that business.
Right. But Hareesh, in hindsight, obviously it was a difficult decision. If there were 2 or 3 most important things that you learned from that decision, what would they be?
An interesting question. A couple of things I learned is that there is no substitute for hard work, and hard work means really serious hard work. Somewhere in the .com era, as entrepreneurs, it was driven into our mind that you should have this work-life balance. Come to office at 9, you must go back home at 7, have family time. Saturday, Sunday is your time. You must go for a vacation. All that is rubbish. Okay. Like I said earlier, in the life of an entrepreneur, work and sleep are the only 2 things you do. Right. When we are building this business, Social Wavelength, I've been awake till 2 o'clock at night, sending emails and doing things, and back in the office at 8. And not only 10 years back, even today. Right, couple of days back, we just got back from Singapore late night. Next day morning, I'm on a platform giving a talk at 8 in the morning. So hard work is that kind of hard work where you really are fully committed to whatever you are doing without bothering about this work-life balance thing that keeps on happening in parallel. The second thing was, by nature, I've been kind of a perfectionist. I want everything happening absolutely 100%. If somebody is filing a paper, I want to be sure that that punch goes right from the middle, symmetrically filed, and everything is in order. If something is not in order, it really upsets me, kind of thing, But you realize that there is a price you have to pay for that level of perfection. Right. So if you are going to be 100% perfect, there's a price X you need to pay. So if you say, for example, you do something 70% perfection and the cost is X. If it is 85%, the cost is 5X. If it is 100%, the cost is 10X. You start realizing that being 100% perfect everywhere is not important. It is okay to be 85%. And that extra 5x effort, you actually started growing the business, focusing on revenues. So it is okay to be little less than perfect than be perfect in every respect. Right. The third big learning was that revenue is very important. You cannot give yourself the excuse that the business is not growing because economy is not growing, because America's economy is not growing, because the RBI government is not giving credit. These are all alibis for us. All our businesses are simply so small that we cannot afford to take shelter under these kind of alibis. Right. Beginning of the year, you set a target for you, you have to achieve that target. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, you have to be very demanding of yourself. We need to expect more of ourselves and deliver more of ourselves. That is the way it has to be. So you set your numbers, find a way to kind of get there without giving yourself excuses. These are like to be 3 very important and key learnings.
Great. So Hareesh, we spoke about learnings from the toughest decision that you had to make in your life. What about, in a similar vein, are there any personal limitations that you have had to overcome, or have you always been the way you are? What's your take on that?
Yes, there are definitely personal limitations that all of us have. So somewhere I don't see myself very, very creative in terms of expression. I see myself very strongly on analytical side, number side. That's the kind of thing I'm very good at. Probably not as good on a creative thinking. So it's good to understand personal limitations, and it's good to get support in areas of personal limitation. Or a second limitation, I cannot do 5 things at the same time. I can do only one task at one time. I see people who open their laptop and the phone is running and there is something in the ear and a discussion is going on and there is a PPT. I just don't seem to do. I'll get completely lost. Right. It scares me when like 2 things happen at the same time. In the morning I want to organize my day A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I want to do it in that order. And then I can spend quality time on each thing, think about it, fix the issue, put it, go to the next. But if something gets thrown at me in parallel, I just can't do it. I don't know how people keep on tweeting while sitting for meetings and still listening to what's happening. So I'm extremely bad at doing multiple things at the same time. Okay. Typically when I walk into my meeting, I don't even care about my phone. If it's ringing, it rings. If you miss a call, you miss a call. I'm fully present for that moment. And maybe that is what allows me to understand that moment the best and then also retain with me, kind of thing. So I cannot multiplex 5 things at a time. Okay. I don't know if it's a limitation. Maybe in today's world, it probably is limitation.
Hareesh, first of all, people are going to find it tough to believe because they're going to think, how do you get so much done if you don't multitask?
It is because I do in the orderly way.
Right.
I can do 70 tasks in an order.
Right.
But if you throw 5 at the same time in a random order,
right,
I think I'll get challenged.
Okay, interesting. What about, so again on the overcoming limitations theme, what were some limitations you had in your previous stint as an entrepreneur which you have now, you feel you have overcome and you are effectively able to combat?
I think one was not having a vision big enough. You really need to have a big vision. Sometimes we get constrained by the world we see around us, and it becomes like a constraining thing. You need to be able to give up those shackles, and you really need to have a large, big vision. It is not important whether you will get there.
Right.
It is not important whether you can touch the sky. It is important to make an effort. You need to try harder. So having that really big vision, I think is something we completely missed. I missed over in my earlier business. So here from day one it was very clear, I want to build a big business. I want to do something which is big and earth-shaking. The second thing is, taking the right decision at the right time. Maybe in the previous business we had an opportunity to exit at a given point of time, and we started, continuing to, what shall I say, roast the whatever thing for a longer time. This time around, bit the bullet and decided to move on. So some of that thing of taking decisions, you will never get the best price in the market for what you're doing. Right. It's okay to cross a peak and say I'm okay. Let's kind of move on with it.
Right. So both these limitations that you mentioned, how did you overcome? Was just the realization of the limitation enough?
No. That's a very interesting question. So after leaving home India, I spent 2 years working in a company called Jason's, and that company is owned by a friend of mine, Dhiresh. The 2-year experience with him taught me really what is meant by vision. Here was a guy who would run a business of size X and his vision was 100X. And at some point of time, it was like almost scary. How can the vision be so big? But he really believed in that kind of vision, and had the ability to get there. That helped me think, how can you really build it? That helped me realize that being 85% is okay. Don't need to be 100% everything. That made me realize that achieving numbers are absolutely critical. You have to be demanding on yourself to make it happen. Right. So I think a lot of this realization that the 2-year stint in terms of meeting people, the 2-year stint also made me realize that being an entrepreneur is very, very respectful in our industry. You can be a owner of a very large doing a job in a very large company with a very large car, but people give entrepreneurs a different kind of a respect. I remember seeing by somebody who was running a very large BPO, sold the BPO, started a small company. Somebody asked him that, why do you leave such a big BPO? Could have continued working. And his thought was that even though my kingdom is smaller, I am still the king. That is really what entrepreneurship gives you. It gives you the chance to live with your own conviction, with your way of thinking, doing what you think is right. Kingdom may be small, but you are still the king.
Interesting. So Hareesh, that gives a peek to everybody listening or watching into the way that you think. Which brings me to my next question also. Are there certain mental models or ways of thinking or certain ways in which you interpret the world that have helped you in this journey?
Yeah. like you said in the introduction, at the end of the day, I'm a philosopher. I'm not a businessman. I'm not a digital strategist. I'm not a CEO. I'm actually a philosopher. So I have a very, very sound philosophy about life, which keeps you very, very balanced. Somewhere life has to, like Swami Vivekananda says, the challenge of life is not to sit in a cave and be peaceful. Anybody can be peaceful there. You have to stand in the middle of action, in the middle of vortex, and find the center. If you have found the center, you cannot be moved. If you look at a vortex on the periphery, action is most. As you move to center, you cannot be moved. So to me, that is the philosophy of life. That through this entire action, through this entire theory of karma, through all this happening, am I moving myself towards the center? In becoming a better person, being spiritually getting realized, okay, and finding happiness in what I do. To me, that is the center. So to me, that is the bigger philosophy of life. It doesn't matter what business I do, whether I'm a digital agency or make chairs or make telephones. The idea is that, am I moving towards that center? Am I doing good for people around me? Whether they are vendors, whether they are employees, whether they are clients. When they think of me, will they think of me like a nice person? When people engage with me, will they be like a takeaway? They go back feeling empowered, they go back feeling good, and that is the spiritual center I'm trying to move towards.
Right. Interesting. And so this almost sounds like something you would hear a monk or a yogi say. Isn't this contrary to having big ambitions? Isn't this contrary to having like the desire to grow the organization? Are these not contrary?
Not at all. The ambition is not about personal wealth or personal goal. Okay, what does Krishna tell Arjuna when he's fighting? Arjuna says, I don't want to kill my brothers for a piece of land. What does Krishna say? The battle is not for a piece of land. You are fighting. If something wrong happened, if something is wrong, you need to fight it.
Right.
So I don't see growing a large organization for my own benefit, right? I mean, I don't wear any designer brands. I don't even wear a watch, for example. I care two hoots about having large cars or large houses. It is the ambition to create something big and valuable, which can sustain a lot of people. That gives you also some kind of inner gratification.
Right.
Wealth is a byproduct. Once upon a time, we were discussing maybe among ourselves or with a group of friends that if one had 1,000 crores, right, would one go and buy a house worth 100 crores? And the answer was obviously not. Right? I don't need to stay in a house of 100 crores. I'm absolutely fine in the small house I have. So the wealth doesn't need to get attached to you.
Right.
In Ramayana we hear about the king Janak,
right,
and it was said that Janak wore the finest of silk. The silk touched the body, not the soul. So if you can keep that distinction aside, you can be a monk and the businessman at the same time.
Amazing. Hareesh, if you had 1,000 crore, would you buy your friend's houses worth 100 crore?
Well, if I had 1,000 crores, I would probably want to spend that money in generating more computer literacy in the country. If at all I had the chance or opportunity to do it, I mean, that is where that money would probably go.
Right, got it. So Hareesh, you spoke about ambition. So right now, what is your most audacious ambition at this point in time?
Am I able to create an organization of say 100,000 people? Like a 10,000 crore business, is it possible? It's always fascinated with that. How do people build such large companies? How does it even happen at that scale? And then how does somebody manage it? And how do you create that work culture and inspire people to think everything like a single solitary mission and a vision, and deliver something which is really of value? So to me, even creation of that organization that big is actually a challenge I'm setting to myself. That can I really get there? Do I really have the ability to get there? Can I scale up the organization, the company, the business, everything so fast without it crumbling like a pack of cards? So the ambition is also laced with a challenge. It's an internal challenge. Like an Olympic runner where every sprint he wants to do better than his last sprint. To me, it is that kind of thing. Can I keep doing better and better and better? And this becomes one of the benchmark for me to do better.
Amazing. That is very inspiring. Hareesh, so this is your, so just to, in case people watch this many years in the future, we are in November 2018, so some of these things can get timed. But let's take a hypothetical scenario that it's November 2018, you are as you are now, and you sit in a flight and you have nothing to do for the next, say, 3 hours. And you see beside yourself, there is Hareesh Tibrewala, who is currently 25 years old. So what is it that you tell the 25-year-old Hareesh Tibrewala in November 2018 that will help him in his life?
First is be more ambitious. At 25, I was part of a family business where we were not at all ambitious in what we wanted to do. It was all about, limited stuff and getting something limited. Also, be more ambitious, be more risky. Every single time I've taken risk in life, it has always been for the better. Always been for the better. It has never been for the worse. You fear taking risk, but once you take it, there is enough horsepower one has within oneself to be sure that you make a good and a proper landing. So take risks, and take decisions faster. These were like the three very clear things: be ambitious, take risks, and take decision faster. Standing in middle of the road, the chance of failure is 50% for sure.
Right.
But if you cross to either side, there is a chance it will be 100%. So one has to take those chances.
Okay, again a question. This was like a question about past. Now, question about future may not be related to you directly as you are now, but you do. I know you read a lot and you pay attention to all these trends that are happening. So right now, from a humanity perspective or the intersection of humanity and technology perspective, what are like some of the trends that you are seeing which are going to change our world? You've obviously lived through and been part of the whole digital internet and digital trend. What's the next trend that you see?
Two interesting thoughts I have there. I think for the first time in the history of human evolution, or rather history of evolution in general, a stage has been reached where a species can now create a new species with their own intelligence. So if last 400 million years life has been there on Earth, right from the single cell bacteria, and it kept on evolving by the Darwinian principle of choose and elimination. Today as human beings we have the ability to alter our own DNA. So the next species I create doesn't have to be by the natural principle of evolution.
Right.
I can actually create the new species. That's like something that never happened for 400 million years on this earth, and therefore to the best of our knowledge nowhere in the universe. So something like completely new that's going to happen. So gives immense power to human beings, but also the new species can be completely different. The second big change I'm seeing is the technological curve of things happening has just gone through the roof all of a sudden. So what earlier took like 100 million years to happen, and maybe 100 million sounds a bit too much. Let us say 10,000 years from the time agriculture was discovered to where we have come today, maybe like a 10-20,000 year journey, would probably happen in the next 200 years.
Right.
That level of change. So because of agriculture, cities and countries and all this kind of came into being. From being nomads and hunters,
right.
Our life completely changed in a different fashion. We'll see it happen very quickly now. Right. So things like an intergalactic travel. Next 100 years we'll definitely crack it. Absolutely no doubt. We'll find a way to start moving to other galaxies. So the pace of change is going to be like absolutely amazing.
Right.
What took years will now be happening in seconds.
Right.
So this is like the two fundamental things I see that are going to change.
Interesting. So again, slightly changing tack, but again a question which is going to be very interesting. Let's say you walk into a bar or a coffee shop that you decide, but you sit on a table which has 3 other chairs and they are empty chairs, and you get to choose who comes and sits in those chairs, past, present, future, and you can have a 3-hour conversation with those 3 people. Who are those 3 people and why?
So one person I would like to kind of spend time with is Mahatma Gandhi. His life has seriously inspired me. I've watched the movie Gandhi like n number of times. If you want to stop me from doing something, just show me the movie Gandhi and I will stop everything. And I find everything something new to kind of take away. Right. And what impresses me most about this person is the place from where he started his life. As somebody would rob gold from his mother's cupboard so you can go and buy non-veg food, or somebody who almost landed up at a brothel. And from that stage to really becoming a Mahatma, what a fantastic evolution of character. Right. And the inspiration for us is that we are actually much ahead of him at that stage. So where can we go? That evolution of character, that integrity of character, amazing. We need to understand what makes you build that kind of character. Even today, without any designation title, we still celebrate Gandhi Jayanti, and he's the father of the nation. And other countries have issued postage stamps, in his name. And he's regarded. If you hear a speech by Barack Obama, he makes a reference to Gandhi. Right. So you can imagine the power of this person that he has exercised over a lot of us and over a lot of us. The second person would be Albert Einstein. What creates this kind of a genius? How can you just think of theory of relativity the way you are able to think and predict things which couldn't be proven then, which actually are kind of getting proven, at this point of time. And third would be probably somebody from the arts or the music fraternity. I don't have a specific name in mind, But that is one thing that I always want to do or learn. I mean, learn some music, maybe learn painting, you know. I believe that in each one of us, there is a painter, there is an artist, there is a musician, there is a singer, there is a guy who has to manage things, there is a CEO. We just don't allow other things to happen. We slot ourselves saying, this is my job, I can't do the others. But we must attempt being a sculptor, being a painter, being a musician, singing, doing things you would otherwise not do. I mean, life is short, you've got to try out everything possible. So I probably don't want to engage with maybe somebody from Beatles, for example, and understand how do they create their compositions became so catchy and so nice. You know?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hareesh. On that note, I think it's been a great conversation, and all of us are going to keep rehearing it, I'm guessing, to get some great nuggets. Thanks.
Thanks, Mihir.